Every year, millions of people celebrate their birthdays with parties, messages, cakes, and gifts. For many, it's one of the happiest days of the year. A day when attention, love, and celebration are expected. But there's another group of people. People who treat their birthday like a completely normal day. No celebration. No party. Sometimes they even hide their birthday from others. If you've ever met someone like this, you might wonder, why would someone ignore a day that's supposed to celebrate them? The answer lies deep within human psychology. It's not always sadness. When people hear that someone doesn't celebrate their birthday, the first assumption is often sadness. Many immediately imagine loneliness, disappointment, or a lack of meaningful relationships. But the truth is much more complex than that. Not celebrating a birthday doesn't automatically mean someone is unhappy. In fact, for many people, it has very little to do with sadness at all. Instead, it reflects a different way of thinking about life, attention, and personal meaning. Society places a strong emotional value on birthdays. From childhood, we are taught that birthdays are supposed to be special. We see decorations, cakes, gifts, and social media posts celebrating the day someone was born. Over time, these traditions become expectations. Because of this, when someone chooses not to celebrate their birthday, it can feel unusual to others. People may assume something must be wrong. But psychologically speaking, not everyone connects emotionally with these traditions in the same way. Some people simply view birthdays as another date on the calendar. To them, the day doesn't represent something that requires attention or celebration. Life, in their perspective, is not divided into special days and ordinary days. Every day is part of the same ongoing journey. For these individuals, happiness doesn't come from marking a single day each year. It comes from the way they live their lives daily. Their satisfaction comes from personal growth, meaningful work, close relationships, or quiet moments of reflection. Another reason birthdays may feel ordinary to some people is that they don't attach their sense of worth to external celebrations. While many people enjoy being recognized and appreciated on their birthday, others feel that their value shouldn't depend on how many messages they receive or how big the celebration is. They may appreciate kind wishes from others, but they don't feel the need for a day dedicated to them. Their identity and self-esteem come from within, not from external acknowledgement. There are also people who find deeper meaning in reflection rather than celebration. Instead of throwing a party, they might spend the day thinking about the past year of their life. They might reflect on what they learned, how they changed, and what they want to do next. For them, a birthday becomes less about excitement and more about awareness. It's a quiet moment to observe the passage of time and to consider the direction their life is taking. In many cases, these people actually feel peaceful about their birthday rather than sad. They don't avoid the day because it hurts them. They simply don't feel the need to turn it into an event. Some even find the idea of a birthday celebration slightly strange. After all, everyone is born, and everyone ages. From their perspective, it's a natural part of life rather than something extraordinary. This mindset is often connected to a more philosophical view of life. Instead of celebrating the fact that another year has passed, they may focus on how that year was lived. Did they grow as a person? Did they learn something meaningful? Did they move closer to the life they want? These questions matter more to them than candles, gifts, or parties. It's also important to remember that emotional expression varies widely from person to person. Some people show joy loudly and openly, while others experience emotions quietly and privately. Just because someone isn't celebrating doesn't mean they don't feel grateful for life. Their appreciation may simply be expressed in a quieter way. They might spend the day working, relaxing, reading, or doing something small that they personally enjoy. To them, that can feel more authentic than organizing a celebration. Ultimately, the key point is this: people experience meaning in different ways. For some, birthdays are joyful milestones filled with celebration and connection. For others, they are just another peaceful moment in the flow of life. Neither perspective is right or wrong. They are simply different reflections of how individuals understand themselves and the world around them. And sometimes, choosing quiet reflection over celebration isn't a sign of sadness at all. Sometimes, it's simply a sign of a different mindset. Personality and introversion. Personality plays a major role in how people view birthdays. Introverted individuals often feel uncomfortable being the center of attention. Birthday celebrations usually involve people focusing on you, social expectations, public appreciation, sometimes even pressure to act happy. For someone who values privacy and calm environments, this kind of attention can feel overwhelming. Instead of feeling celebrated, they feel exposed. So rather than going through that discomfort every year, they simply treat the day like any other. To them, peace feels better than attention. Past experiences shape behavior. One of the most powerful forces shaping human behavior is past experience. The way we react to certain events in life is rarely random. Our minds constantly learn from the past, forming patterns that guide how we think, feel, and behave in the future. Birthdays are no exception. For many people who choose not to celebrate their birthday, the reason often traces back to experiences from earlier in life. These experiences slowly shape how the brain perceives the meaning of that day. In childhood, birthdays can feel magical. There might be cake, gifts, family gatherings, and attention from friends. These moments create strong emotional memories. When a child repeatedly experiences positive birthday celebrations, the brain begins to associate that day with happiness and excitement. But not everyone grows up with those experiences. Some people come from families where birthdays were never celebrated. It might have been due to financial limitations, cultural differences, or simply because the family did not place importance on such traditions. In these situations, the child learns that a birthday is just another ordinary day. When this pattern continues year after year, the brain accepts it as normal. There is no expectation of celebration, and therefore no emotional attachment to the day. For others, the experience may be more complicated. Some people remember birthdays that brought disappointment rather than joy. Maybe their birthday was forgotten by people they cared about. Maybe promises of celebration were broken. Maybe they hoped for recognition that never came. When expectations are repeatedly followed by disappointment, the mind begins to protect itself. Psychologically, the brain dislikes emotional pain. So it adapts by lowering expectations or removing emotional importance from the situation entirely. Instead of feeling hurt every year when a birthday is overlooked, the person unconsciously trains themselves not to expect anything at all. Over time, the brain rewrites the meaning of that day. The birthday is no longer seen as a special moment. It becomes neutral, just another day on the calendar. This psychological adjustment is a form of emotional self-protection. It allows the person to move forward without reliving the same disappointment each year. There are also individuals whose birthdays were overshadowed by difficult life events. Perhaps their birthday occurred during stressful periods in the family, times of conflict, loss, or hardship. When a date becomes associated with negative emotions, the brain stores that memory deeply. As a result, the person may grow up feeling disconnected from their birthday without fully understanding why. Their mind has simply linked that day with emotions they would rather avoid. Another important factor is how children observe the behavior of adults around them. If parents or role models never celebrated their own birthdays, children may grow up viewing birthdays as unimportant. Humans learn a great deal through observation. When something is never emphasized within the family environment, it rarely becomes meaningful later in life. Over the years, these early experiences slowly form a psychological pattern. What might appear from the outside as indifference is often the result of years of subtle conditioning. The person is not rejecting their birthday out of bitterness or sadness. Their mind has simply learned to treat the day without emotional significance. And once a pattern like this forms, it becomes part of a person's identity. They may reach adulthood feeling completely comfortable with the idea that their birthday is just another normal day. In many cases, they don't even think about it much at all. To others, this might seem strange. But from a psychological perspective, it makes perfect sense. Our past quietly shapes our present. And sometimes, the way someone treats their birthday is simply a reflection of the experiences that shaped them long before they even realized it. A different relationship with time. Some people avoid birthday celebrations because it reminds them of time passing. Birthdays highlight aging. They remind us that another year of life is gone. For reflective and philosophical personalities, this can trigger deeper thoughts. Am I where I want to be in life? Did I grow this year? Am I wasting my time? Instead of celebrating, they enter a state of quiet self-evaluation. For these individuals, birthdays feel less like a party, and more like a life checkpoint. Emotional independence. Another important psychological trait often seen in people who don't celebrate their birthdays is emotional independence. Emotional independence means that a person does not rely heavily on external validation to feel valued or important. Their sense of self-worth doesn't depend on how much attention they receive from others, how many messages they get, or how big their celebration is. For many people, birthdays are meaningful because they bring recognition. Friends send messages, family members call, and social media fills with birthday wishes. These moments make people feel appreciated and remembered. And there is nothing wrong with that. Humans naturally enjoy feeling valued. But emotionally independent individuals experience validation in a different way. Instead of relying on a special day to feel important, they build their sense of worth internally. Their confidence and self-respect come from their actions, their values, and the way they live their lives. Because of this, birthdays don't carry the same emotional weight. They don't feel the need for a yearly reminder that they matter. They already know their value. This kind of mindset usually develops over time. As people grow older and gain life experience, they begin to understand that external recognition is temporary. Messages fade, celebrations end, and attention moves on. But self-respect and inner peace can remain constant. Emotionally independent people often focus more on living a meaningful life rather than seeking moments of attention. They may find satisfaction in personal achievements, quiet progress, and meaningful relationships rather than public celebrations. Another interesting aspect of emotional independence is comfort with solitude. People who are emotionally independent are usually comfortable spending time alone. They don't see solitude as loneliness. Instead, they view it as an opportunity to recharge, think, and reconnect with themselves. Because of this, a birthday spent quietly does not feel empty to them. In fact, for some people, a peaceful day away from noise and expectations feels far more authentic than a celebration filled with social pressure. Birthday celebrations often come with expectations, organizing gatherings, responding to messages, and maintaining a certain level of excitement throughout the day. For emotionally independent individuals, this can sometimes feel unnecessary or even exhausting. They would rather spend the day doing something that genuinely brings them peace. Maybe they work as usual. Maybe they go for a quiet walk. Maybe they spend time reflecting on their goals or simply enjoying a calm moment in life. To them, appreciation for life doesn't need to be limited to one specific day. They might feel grateful for life every morning they wake up, every step they take toward their goals, and every meaningful connection they build with others. So when someone chooses not to celebrate their birthday, it may not be a sign that they feel unimportant. It may actually mean the opposite. It may mean they have reached a point where their sense of value no longer depends on the spotlight of a single day. Their worth is not measured by candles, gifts, or social media posts. It's measured by the life they quietly continue to build every day. Maturity and perspective. As people grow older, their perspective on birthdays often begins to change. What once felt exciting and important during childhood may start to feel less significant with time. This shift is not necessarily negative, it is often a natural result of maturity and life experience. When we are young, birthdays represent excitement. They bring gifts, parties, attention, and the feeling of being the center of the moment. For a child or teenager, these celebrations can feel magical because life at that stage is often defined by milestones and special occasions. But as adulthood begins, life becomes more complex. Responsibilities increase. People focus on careers, family, financial stability, and long-term goals. Daily life becomes filled with decisions, challenges, and personal growth. In the middle of these responsibilities, birthdays can start to feel less like major events and more like simple reminders of time passing. Maturity often changes how people define what truly matters. Instead of valuing temporary celebrations, many people begin to value deeper things: peace of mind, meaningful relationships, personal growth, and purpose. These things bring a lasting sense of fulfillment that a single day of celebration cannot always provide. For someone with this perspective, a birthday is not ignored out of negativity. It is simply viewed differently. Rather than focusing on the excitement of turning another year older, they may focus on reflection. They might quietly ask themselves important questions. Did I grow this year? Did I learn something valuable? Am I becoming the person I want to be? These kinds of reflections often replace the need for celebration. Another reason maturity changes how people view birthdays is the awareness of time. As people age, they begin to understand that time is one of the most valuable resources in life. A birthday becomes a reminder that another year has passed, and that realization can lead to deeper thinking. Some people use that moment to evaluate their direction in life rather than to celebrate it. They may think about their goals, their progress, and the kind of life they want to build in the future. This kind of reflection is often quiet and personal, which is why it may not appear outwardly like a celebration. Maturity also brings emotional balance. Younger people often seek excitement, attention, and social recognition. As people mature, many begin to appreciate calmness, simplicity, and authenticity instead. The desire to be the center of attention slowly fades, replaced by a desire for meaningful experiences and genuine connections. Because of this shift, some people begin to see birthdays as just another day in the larger journey of life. That does not mean they are ungrateful for life or unhappy about getting older. In many cases, it means they appreciate life in a quieter and more thoughtful way. They may still acknowledge the day privately. They might spend time with a close family member, reflect on the past year, or simply enjoy a peaceful moment of gratitude. To them, that quiet appreciation feels more real than a large celebration. Ultimately, maturity changes how people measure happiness. When people are younger, happiness may come from excitement and attention. But with experience, happiness often comes from understanding, stability, and personal growth. So when someone treats their birthday like a normal day, it may not mean the day has no meaning. Sometimes it simply means their perspective on life has grown deeper. And in many ways, that quiet perspective is a sign of maturity. So when someone treats their birthday like a normal day, it doesn't always mean they're unhappy. Sometimes it means they're private. Sometimes it means they're reflective. And sometimes it simply means they see life differently. Because for some people, the most meaningful moments aren't the ones that are celebrated. They're the ones quietly lived. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more human psychology, behavior, and self-awareness, make sure to subscribe. Because understanding people often begins with understanding the mind.